Thank you for again giving me such an affectionate welcome. I think it's in that book, My Memories of Srila Prabhupada, I noticed that devotees are welcoming me in different places with affection. So this is just reflecting the great affection that Srila Prabhupada brought to the world. Devotees are greeting me with affection because they see me as a representative of Srila Prabhupada. If I hadn't come to Srila Prabhupada, then you wouldn't. I mean, there are so many Britishers come to Dubai every day, and it's not that you just grab any Britisher off the street and pull him in and start greeting him affectionately. What's my relationship with you? There's nothing in common by background, but Srila Prabhupada made the link. So we are connected by Prabhupada's mercy. So we can remember that. About a month ago, I think it was, Gaur Bhagavan Prabhu sent me. 2 months ago, was it? And then my visit got delayed. I said I'll speak about this in Dubai. Send me a list of Prabhupada said, things that Prabhupada has purportedly said. And some of the things you found difficult to accept. I'll just read. I haven't actually read through them to date, but so we'll see. We'll have some fun as we go through. You can tell me which ones you found difficult to accept that Prabhupada might have said this. So I said, well, when I come to Dubai, we can discuss this with others also, because it's always valuable to discuss what Prabhupada said, and it's valuable to discuss what he didn't say also, in the sense that, I'll just explain what I mean by that. When we all joined the movement, as who were becoming older men now, but who were in our youth at that time, I was 18 when, by Krishna's arrangement, I joined this movement. So at that time, the mood in ISKCON was very much saturated with Prabhupada consciousness. Not that Prabhupada had told so, but it was just automatically like that. All the devotees felt very, very grateful to Prabhupada and amazed at the greatness of his personality, and all the time we'd be hearing some in the temples when we're driving here and there. There'd be Prabhupada lecture, kirtan playing, and devotees would always say, Prabhupada said this, Prabhupada said that, Prabhupada said this, Prabhupada said that. Because we came from a different background than you did. That we didn't know anything about Krishna. We didn't even know the name Krishna. So, and we all came from a background of great suffering, hippie life. Mostly Prabhupada's disciples were hippies, and very in pursuit of pleasure had come to a position of great distress before coming to Krishna consciousness. So very great, tremendous gratefulness to Prabhupada, and great faith that everything Prabhupada says is perfect and wonderful. And so, and also Prabhupada gave instructions on all aspects of life, and we took it as axiomatic that, someone translating for the one or two here that don't know English? आप अंग्रेजी नहीं समझते, और there's all अनंत शायन प्रभु भी अंग्रेजी नहीं जानते हैं. So this mood was very strong, and Prabhupada gave us direction to our lives. We were directionless, and order, because the hippie life it's very difficult to explain if you haven't been in that. It's dishahin. It's completely directionless kind of life. Probably about what we should do at every moment and in every... Because actually Vedic culture regulates every aspect of life. Just like one of the questions here is about vegetable oil. On the body, not in the body. So there's what season you should use, what time of day, and which parts of the body you should apply, all in detail, either in Shastra or according to tradition. So many details, which part of the house you should have the kitchen, and this, and so many things. So Prabhupada told some of these things, but a small amount of the things in Vedic culture, which for us was overwhelming. You're learning how to do everything, and so devotees say, Prabhupada said, oh, okay, Prabhupada said, okay, that's it. That's settled then. Prabhupada said that, alright, we have to do it then. Along with this came some spurious, Prabhupada says. You know what spurious means? It means maybe he said it or maybe he didn't. Can't be sure. Not because sometimes someone said Prabhupada said, and it might be what they wanted him to say, or a little bit adjusted what he said, and therefore sometimes devotees will go back to Prabhupada and say, Prabhupada, did you say that? I say, no. And then it came to the point where Prabhupada said that unless it's in writing, don't accept that I said it. Yeah, you want to say something?
Just a small comment. When Prabhupada was in 1975 in Venezuela, he thought the devotees were asking him like...
Were you there?
I was not there, but then he said, can you please introduce me to Prabhupada? I would like to meet Prabhupada. So
who said that?
Prabhupada. Then he says, the devotees were shocked. He says, at least I want to meet Prabhupada to have an agreement with him on what he said and what I said, because you are telling me I'm saying something I never said. So people use the...
Are you sure he said that? Is that in writing?
That's why with all the devotees in Venezuela, they say that he said that the devotees used to speculate and used to say that he said something that he never said.
So, what Prabhupada... The most important things that Prabhupada said are in his books. But we also have his conversations and letters. But again, what Prabhupada said in his conversations and letters, many times they're contextual. Even some of the things in his books are contextual. Just like in his books, he describes, for instance, that sannyasi should beg food from so many houses, but that was traditional sannyas. Just quoting from Shastra, that was traditional karma sannyas, but he neither followed that himself as a sannyasi, nor did he expect his sannyasis to do so, and even if they'd started to, he'd probably tell them not to. So it requires intelligence and sincerity in Prabhupada's blessings to understand what Prabhupada said. And nowadays there are many different opinions coming out of what Prabhupada said on different matters. Now, one upshot of Prabhupada saying that only accept what I said in writing is that some of the things that he is well known to have said which were not committed to writing or were not recorded while Prabhupada was personally present have now come to be doubted. This is from a website, I presume, which is saying, well, this is unfortunate, and they're trying to collect all things that Prabhupada said which are not in writing, and they're trying to give the background of this. This goes to show how much devotees, especially Prabhupada's disciples at that time, how seriously they took what Prabhupada said, and how seriously we should take what he said. Even if some things are contextual, that doesn't mean we should just throw them out altogether. So this spirit is laudable, that we should try to understand what Prabhupada said. I think it's in my Jai Srila Prabhupada book, I can't remember sometimes which I put in my memories of Srila Prabhupada and what I put in Jai Srila Prabhupada. I wrote that everything Prabhupada said is important, even if he says, please give me a glass of water. It's far more important than the President of America saying, let's bomb Iraq. So you think, well, that's more important, isn't it? That's an event of world importance. But in this material world, everything is coming and going. But pure devotees coming is very, very rare. Especially pure devotees. When we say of the level of Prabhupada, it's difficult to say because no one did what Prabhupada did. So everything Prabhupada said is important. I say, well, Prabhupada is saying, please give me a glass of water. That's not very important. But it's important because he said it. Everything that Prabhupada said is fully imbued with love of Krishna and the ability to give Krishna to others. So that is important. Whereas Bush saying to bomb Iraq or let's stop bombing Iraq or whatever, all these things, it's all part of the coming and going of material life. So let us try to understand what Prabhupada said. Some of these things may seem, I'm just giving a little bit of this background because some of the things may seem that why should we worry what Prabhupada said something about whether he likes black raisins or golden raisins. You may think, well, it's not very important but whether Prabhupada likes black raisins or golden raisins. But it's important to us because we love Prabhupada. And we see him as our ideal that we want to follow. Now, I might like black raisins and Prabhupada doesn't. It's not that we have to try and imitate Prabhupada in all respects. Because Prabhupada, for instance, because Prabhupada, his pronunciation of English was different. Prabhupada would say, what is the question? Instead of question, he would say question. Have you heard on those lecture cassettes? Question, he would say. So that doesn't mean that we all have to start saying question instead of question. That's called imitation. And it's not that if Prabhupada liked golden raisins rather than black raisins. You know this? Golden raisins. In India they don't have them, but in Dubai, which is it's like a cross between the West and the East, so they have golden raisins. So Prabhupada liked golden raisins. So it doesn't mean that I must like golden raisins more than black raisins because Prabhupada did. But we like to know everything about him. We take pleasure in hearing about his personality because his personality is fully saturated with love of Krishna. That Arjuna asked that question in Bhagavad Gita that Sthita pragyasya kha bhasha samadhisthasya kesha Sthitadhi king prabhasheta kim vrajeta. What is it? Kimasita vrajeta kim. What is the behavior of a perfect person? How does he sit? How does he walk? What does he say? So Krishna gave his answer. What is his answer? Prajahati yada kaman sarva partha madhavatam atmanyeva atmana tushta sita pragyasta dojate. So Krishna, he didn't exactly reply, how does he walk, how does he talk? But he says that he's perfectly self-controlled. So all his senses are under control. And Krishna gives an elaborate reply. So what is the behavior of a perfect person? We find in Prabhupada. So these Prabhupada says, did he say them? Well, we can discuss. I can give my opinion. I don't know exactly because how can I say exactly what Prabhupada said in any place or circumstance? Some of them are very important and significant. Whether golden raisins or black raisins, like I say, it doesn't affect our lives, but it's just some details about what Prabhupada did, how he lived. Some things are more significant. The first one that comes up, is it dead? Prabhupada made this sarcastic remark at ISKCON 2nd Avenue, New York City. the first times he was served cereal containing raisins. Is it dead? I presume he meant that it looks like some kind of insect. And he's asking, is it dead? So he didn't like the look of it. He preferred the golden raisin. I heard also that's also in that Prabhupada nectar book. It said that Prabhupada didn't like the black raisins, he liked the golden raisins. So it's quite likely he said that. If you find, you can tell me which ones you're finding. Gaur Bhagwan was saying he was finding it difficult to accept that Prabhupada actually said that. Then another one. This was, Prabhupada is said to have said, this was caused by the Mayavadi psychic influence creeping into ISKCON of my very powerful but very envious Gaudiya Math godbrothers. Is that one of the difficult ones? It's unlikely Prabhupada exactly said that. It doesn't sound like the words psychic influence. I don't think Prabhupada used that word psychic much. Apparently Prabhupada said something similar, that due to the comment is there that when ISKCON Press, which was the predecessor of the BBT, published Prabhupada's book giving the name A.C. Bhaktivedanta, no Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of ISKCON, only A.C. Bhaktivedanta. And there were several things, subtle signs or lapses on the part of his disciples at the time, where one of his disciples, after cleaning his room, put his picture back upside down on the desk. And Prabhupada saw these as all subtle signs of disrespect for him that was coming, because some of his godbrothers in India, and there was some of his disciples Prabhupada had sent to India, and they were being influenced by some of Prabhupada's godbrothers, who Prabhupada several times said that many of his godbrothers were very envious of him. So he said that because of this influence, that his own disciples were undermining him. This is a very sensitive topic, because at the same time we don't want to be disrespectful to Prabhupada's godbrothers. Prabhupada said that he warned his disciples of the influence of some, if not most, of his godbrothers, who mostly they didn't like to accept that this person who they mostly knew as a Grihasta previously, and he'd gone up and gone ahead of preached all over the world, and there were several of them who were actually very much against Prabhupada. They spoke against him. They said these Westerners can't be devotees, and they wouldn't accept the food which were cooked by Prabhupada's disciples. They say they're all mlechas and this and that. So Prabhupada wasn't very happy with that. So that's a fact. Whether Prabhupada exactly said this, which is here, I don't know, but definitely that mood was there. That doesn't necessarily mean that we have to maintain that. Things have changed, and nowadays I find mostly Gaudiya Math devotees, they're very appreciative of Prabhupada and what he's done. We have to take it on a case-by-case basis. Some are still very envious like that, one in particular. But we have to take it case by case. We can't say for sure. One thing is that even within ISKCON there are people who are supposed to be, I don't know any disciples of Prabhupada, but there are very few, but a few disciples of Prabhupada who are questioning him, and so this is not wanted at all. Question means that we can, just like we're discussing now, did Prabhupada actually say that we can question what is the context, how is it applicable? But to question Prabhupada's sanctity, as some are saying, well, Prabhupada was some of the things he said they were influenced by his Bengali Victorian background, in other words, ascribing mundane influences to him, then this is Guru Aparad. Martya Buddhi, Guru Shu Naramatihi Sa Naraki Saha. Person who thinks that Guru is Mahabhagavat is under material influences, then he is a resident of hell. So some of these things are going on. Some of persons supposed to be devotees within our movement are questioning some of the things Prabhupada said, because it doesn't fit with their idea of reality. But that's why we go to Guru, because we understand that our understanding of reality is not correct, and we have to receive transcendental knowledge from the transcendental source. And then if we think the transcendental source is imperfect, then why go there? Then don't go. Go somewhere else. Go to Osho or Sai Baba. Or you want to go to hell? Go there. Don't come here. New Vrindavan will someday become tropical. I read this in. There used to be a magazine coming out from New Vrindavan called Brijbasi Spirit, and I believe it was during Prabhupada's presence that it was also stated there that Prabhupada had said that New Vrindavan will someday become tropical. So, maybe. And the devotees were predicting, not only devotees, they were predicting in the year 2000 there'll be an earth shift. The whole earth will shift on its axis, and India will become cold, and the far north of the earth will become tropical. It didn't happen, and they're still predicting. And maybe it'll happen someday. You never know. But Prabhupada might have said that. Some of the things Prabhupada said we have to take as indicative also. Just like Prabhupada, that's recorded in Prabhupada Lilamrita, I believe, that they took Prabhupada once from London to Amsterdam for a TV shooting, and they said, we'll give you 20 seconds, you can speak on TV. And Prabhupada said, alright, I'll speak the whole philosophy of Krishna consciousness in 20 seconds. So they took him to some studio, and they had him wait in a room with no windows. Prabhupada said, what is this? No windows? This is hellish. How can you make a room with no windows? What kind of intelligence is this? It's rat intelligence. So you like to live in dark. Prabhupada said by the year 2000 everyone will live underground and they'll not see the light. So 2000 came and went. Does it mean it's Prabhupada's wrong? No, we can take this as indicative. Prabhupada was speaking about the consciousness of the people is so tamasic that they don't like the open air, fresh air. They like everything should be dark and closed up like this. Number 48. There should be cottages. This refers to ISKCON Detroit Fisher Mansion Temple. That the devotees could live in. The Grihastha devotees in the temple, they can make little cottages and live on them. So that's for Detroit. Then apparently here's a remark. Prabhupada reportedly made a sarcastic remark when one of his disciples was frantically trying to get ready to leave so that he wouldn't be late for work, and Prabhupada apparently said, what will they do? Kill you? So it may be. That Prabhupada would want his disciple to spend more time with him so he can hear from him. In this regard, I can tell one story of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, which I've collected many such stories, and these stories are not just meant for fun, but they're instructive. That one of his disciples had come from some other town to hear him, to be with him. And then one morning, early morning, he said, I'm leaving now. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, well, I'll be here for another 2 days, you stay some more time, because I don't come this side very often. He said, no, I have to go to work. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, well, you just submit a report of sickness and stay. So he said, okay. Cell phones off, please. So there was one lawyer who was present who wasn't a devotee, he was just visiting. And he became incensed and he said, what is this? This is your guru and he's teaching you to tell lies and be dishonest? And he stormed out. He was very upset. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he also became very upset and he started fasting. And then one of the leading disciples, Goswami Maharaj, he wasn't there at the time because he was out. He was always out making arrangements, making collections and this and that. When he came back in the evening, he found the whole party, everyone was morose, that this liar has blasphemed Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So he said, give me the car. Those days, there weren't that many. Cars were not common. He said, give me the car. And just give me the address of this liar. So he went to see him. He went off and he came right in and knocked on the door. The servant opened the door without waiting for the servant to say yes or anything. He walked right in. And the lawyer was shocked to see him. Who is this? He wasn't introduced. He didn't get permission to come. He walked right in. So without wasting time saying, who are you? What have you come for? Anything like this. He said, Goswami Maharaj said to this lawyer that if thieves came to your house, and you saw them coming, and your wife was dressed in so many jewels, then what would you do? He said, well, I'd try and hide her away. And so if the thieves came and she's hidden away, and they asked, where is your wife? We know she always wears so many jewels. Would you tell her? Would you tell the thieves? He said, of course not. He said, why not? Isn't that a lie? Yeah, but then that's to save my wife and to save the jewelry. So then he said that by hearing the transcendental message from the pure devotee of Krishna, one not only saves, you don't only get saved from life, but you get saved from repeated birth and death. And what is far more valuable than jewels and gold, you get the treasure of love of Krishna. So if you have the opportunity to get that, and if necessary you can tell some person, you can tell some lie, because you have something so much more important you have to preserve than the lawyer could understand. So he immediately said, I must go and apologize. So he came back and apologized like that. So that's in the same spirit. That why rush off to work? Stay here. Here. Shravana Kirtan Karo Anukhan Ashata Pachala Chari Kahe Premananda Manusha Janama Shafala Karana Bhari. Go. Hear and chant all the time. Don't stop. Give up all nonsense talk. Because this human form of life is very valuable. We should make it perfect. Don't delay. Don't put it off. Don't say, I'll do it later. If you don't bathe using oil, then it's not a real bath. Not known if Prabhupada said. The adults should drink 1 cup of milk a day, the children 2 cups. You see, the devotee, they didn't know anything about how you're supposed to drink hot milk, and milk we used to drink cold, that's all. How much? Prabhupada told everything. When purchasing spices imported from India, purchase whole spices and grind them yourself, otherwise you will be cheated. In those days it used to be that if you bought ground spices, it would be cut with maida, isn't it? Nowadays I don't think that, is it? Nowadays not. Practical advice. It's a sin to steal, but it's not a sin to be stolen from. I heard that Prabhupada had said he had said that it's a sin to cheat, but it's more of a sin to be cheated. So maybe he said both things, different things at different times. What did you want to make a comment?
On the spices, he also preferred
freshly ground spice. Obviously, there's no comparison. If you freshly grind them, or if you buy already powdered, there's no comparison. Already all the flavor has gone out. So there's some practical advice. Mostly people that see what everyone in India used to know, nowadays they don't know. I was just saying now the children by the age of 3 they have a Mickey Mouse shirt, and they don't know, they grow up, they know nothing about their own culture. This book I had glimpses of traditional Indian life, and one of my disciples, young man, he's at the time must have been 25, from Aya family, means Tamil Brahmin family. He said everything in that book was new to me. I knew nothing about it. From Chennai, from the city, brought up to work and work and work and work and work and work, which he's doing. So he knew nothing. And you see the people, they don't know any, these very basic things. So you talk about spices, people, they open the packet and they leave it open. It's completely useless. So within one day all the flavor's gone. You get spices and it has to be covered, but they don't know. Very simple things, they don't know. Every night you should have a clean sleeping cloth. I don't know exactly what that means, clean sleeping cloth. That means a fresh sheet or something?
It may also refer to the dress that people wear. Some people have the habit of using the same dress for many days.
I see.
For many days. So
Prabhupada used to rest in the clothes that he was wearing. It may be different in different cultures.
He doesn't wear that same dress the next day?
No, but the dress he was wearing in the day, he'd rest in that at night. What's the culture in Tamil Nadu? What do they do? It must be different among the different castes even.
The ideal thing is for them to be washed after they sleep.
That you wear at night. You don't wear again in the morning.
That's it. But some people may have an attitude of keeping the dress for the next night.
Yeah, in the West they wear pajamas, as they say, every night. They wear it only for sleeping.
Yeah, so they just.
Or I've seen in Gujarat the ladies, they wear some kind of night dress. Maybe they wear. So yeah.
There was a comment that Mr. Parikh had made when you introduced him.
What was that?
He said in their family he's seen his mother would always wear the same dress
every night. Paschime log shab mura anacha. People in the western part of India, they're all fools who don't have any culture, according to Chaitanya Charitamrita. The temple treasurer of ISKCON Detroit in 1970 wrote to Srila Prabhupada describing a petty cash system involving little envelopes and slips of paper. Prabhupada said, what is the need for such a system? Everything should simply be provided. So Prabhupada, he didn't want a very unnecessarily complex systems. Having any difficulty with any of these? Now here's a quote that I've heard many times, but I tried to track it down and I couldn't. When did Prabhupada actually say? I've always heard that Prabhupada said that a Brahmin leaves a place cleaner than he found it. So that's a good one, isn't it? Motorcycles are for those who want to commit suicide. Prabhupada, I also heard Prabhupada call them murder cycles. The motorcycles. They're very dangerous, actually. Very dangerous. One thing I just noticed in India is it's very common now, it's become a fashion. The young man is driving the motorcycle and his girlfriend is on the back and holding on to him as tight as she can, wearing her reveal all t-shirt. It's really low class, actually. But they learned this, I guess, from the movies and everything like that. Very low class. In reference to the Vietnam War, is this one of the ones you had difficulty with? If a country engages in war, they should fight to win. They should not hold anything back. Then Pratyatosha's comment is that they should have used the atom bomb in Vietnam. Well, that's only his comment. But it makes sense, doesn't it? If you're going to go to war, then you go to win. Prabhupada, when they asked in 1970, when was it 71? Pakistan was attacking India, and
71.
Yes, 71. So Prabhupada was saying that, well, what do you think? Should we fight or not fight? It's like a kind of trick question for a sadhu, because if he says ahimsa paramadharma, then it's like against the national interest. And if he says yes, they should fight, then you're not a sadhu. That's what Prabhupada said. No, they should fight. Prabhupada actually said because we were doing our Pandal program in Delhi, that's why India won the war. Because of the influence of that. My Guru Maharaj used to say, he who chastises me is my friend, he who flatters me is my enemy. So that's, it's well known that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, I don't know if he said those two statements side by side, but he certainly said like that. Govinda Dasi is perfectly qualified to be on the GBC except she is a woman. Source unknown. It's also, Tamal Krishna Maharaj also told that Prabhupada had said that, do we need more translation? Koi aga Angrezi nahi samajhte, jara sa Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhu ke paas baith jaye. Or ladies ke liye? Any ladies jo Angrezi nahi samajhte? Aapko Angrezi aate hain nahi? So, some translation, ladies. Tamal Krishna Maharaj had said that he said that Prabhupada had said something to the effect that Yamuna Dasi, he would have made her a GBC except that she was a woman. So these are nowadays such topics are very controversial. But I also heard, it's another unconfirmed Prabhupada said, that Prabhupada had said that Indira Gandhi was the Prime Minister of India was proof that there was no Kshatriya in the whole of India. Because no Kshatriya could tolerate to be ruled by a woman. Puffed rice is too difficult for you to make, you should purchase it. Sometimes we ask them, why do we use this puffed rice? Puffed rice means muri, murmura, mamra in Gujarati. So sometimes we ask, well, why do we buy it? It's like it's already prepared. This seems to be Prabhupada's answer. Here's one, I never heard this before, sounds good. If Krishna likes you, he'll give you everything. If he loves you, he'll take it all away. So do you want to be liked by Krishna or loved by Krishna?
First like, then love.
We have to see, actually. I mean, it's easy to talk about Krishna consciousness, but when the test comes, are we really ready to give everything to Krishna? Would you be ready now to just, Krishna says, I'll take everything away. Are we ready? You have to see. Are we really ready? Mostly not, yeah.
We've also heard that if Krishna knows that we are his trusted servants, he'll give everything to us.
If Krishna knows that we are his trusted service, he'll give everything to us. If we
are not going to be corrupted by.
If we actually use it in his service.
Really
so where's the but are we attached to that? We have to see. See, even people are giving me donations because they think I'll use it in the service of Krishna, which I do. I don't use any money for going to movies or practically what I spend money for travel and for printing books, and maybe I give what could be called donations to temples and this and that, but I can't really call it donation because it's not mine. So I use it for Krishna. But then if I had to lose it all, I'd feel sorry because I want to use it for Krishna's service. But is there some material attachment there? I have to look in my heart and see also. I'm feeling this is mine. Several times I got dreams of my computer being stolen. I'm very afraid of that.
Do you have backed up?
I have it backed up, yeah. Because not so much the computer itself, but all my work for so many years, so many books I'm writing. I'm very afraid of that. Here's one. Meat eating destroys mercy, gambling destroys truthfulness, intoxication destroys austerity, and illicit sex destroys cleanliness. Source unknown. I don't know why they say source unknown. It's right there in the first canto of Bhagavatam. Vegetable oil is for external use only. Well, I heard that when I heard that 75, just after I joined the temple. Prabhupada said, mustard on the body, not in the body. Management is simple, you just keep everything very clean. I also heard that Prabhupada had said that if everything is clean, then it means the management is good. If it's not clean, then the management is not good. That was Prabhupada's simple measurement. The mouth is the dirtiest part of the body, even dirtier than the anus. So I asked Brahmananda Prabhu, you all heard of Brahmananda, right? Anyone who read Prabhupada Lilamrita, you must have heard. He's one of the earliest and most famous disciples of Prabhupada. So I asked him, and he said that yes, he'd heard Prabhupada say that. And he described, actually, if you consider most diseases are orally transmitted. So there are more germs. Perspiration means good health. Prabhupada said about that for weak men, sleeping, and for strong men, sweating. Prabhupada liked it. People should be active, busy. Everyone should be active, not lazy. They're killing mother cow in the slaughterhouse, they're killing babies in the womb, therefore they'll have to send their sons to the slaughterhouse of war. Exactly not like that, but we find elsewhere that Prabhupada had said that because of your keeping slaughterhouse, therefore your youth, they have to go to Vietnam and be slaughtered. Very heavy thing to say, isn't it? Now we have so many, just like recently this tsunami, and we're feeling so sad, but the most of the people who were affected were people who daily engaged in slaughter of fish. So everything comes around. I gave a lecture on that actually in Chennai the weekend after that. The Sunday lecture, I was scheduled to be there, and they gave me they put me up, and I guess they wanted to make some collection for the tsunami afterwards. But I gave another kind of perspective on it. Just by reading my books, they are initiated. Well, in one sense, that's true. That's not a. Prabhupada may have said that, and it's not incorrect, but it's not the sum total of Guru Tattva. Some people say, then you don't need to get initiated, just read Prabhupada's books and then you're initiated. But is this one of the ones you have difficulty with? Yeah, because the essence of initiation is the transmission of Divya Jnanam. Divyam Jnanam Yato, what is that? Divyam Jnanam Yato Dakshat Kuryat Papasya Sangshayam. Divya, the transmission, Tasmat Diksha iti proktas. So Diksha means the transmission of Divya Jnanas, transcendental knowledge, by which sin is destroyed. So that's the essence of initiation. But that doesn't mean that by saying that, Prabhupada meant that there should be no initiation ceremonies, no formal guru-disciple relationships, or that no one ever need to be initiated, or that after Prabhupada's departure, there'd be no need of anyone to be initiated, they just read his books. So it's quite likely Prabhupada may have said that, but it shouldn't be taken out of context. No, that's what I'm saying, that they take it that, well, Prabhupada said just by reading his books you're initiated. But that, like I say, that doesn't mean that that's true in one sense, but it's not a whole statement of Guru Tattva, then you just forget everything else that Prabhupada said and everything in Shastra.
Actually, Prabhupada also initiated after that.
Of course, yeah. So it's to take this as a statement that this is the sum total of Guru Tattva is in this statement. That's incorrect. Yeah.
Well, that's why people have to have a very good common sense to understand what Prabhupada said.
That's what I said before going through all this. That it requires intelligence and sincerity and the blessings of Prabhupada to understand what Prabhupada said.
But also could be seen that since thousands of years in different various lives, we are not taking a spiritual birth. Initiation is a spiritual birth. So maybe by reading Prabhupada books, at least we are starting the first stage towards the spiritual birth.
I discussed this in some detail actually in the beginning of this year. That lecture is available now about what is initiation, and the essence of initiation is the transmission of spiritual knowledge. The ceremony in itself is not the sum total of initiation, and it's a process that begins before the ceremony and continues after the ceremony. The ceremony is also essential, though. That's a statement of commitment in which one is formally accepted into the sampradaya. So I gave an extensive lecture on that. That's, like I say, that'll be available in a few days. I brought that CD, and that will be available. Yeah.
No, it's I wanted to say that initiation puts you in an official stage and formality and vows which you have to follow, which maybe before the initiation you didn't have that same degree of commitment. No,
well, the commitment must be there. That's what I was saying. The commitment, the formal ceremony formalizes the commitment that's already there. If you haven't made that commitment, then you shouldn't sit in the ceremony. And if you have made that commitment, then you should be in the ceremony also. Yeah. And
yes, I understand. I'm saying the difference between feeling initiated by just reading the books and feeling initiated by following this sadhana. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah. It may be also because it may be in some cases that devotees have a very strong connection with Prabhupada by reading his books. It may be in some cases. I know of people who took up Krishna consciousness by reading Prabhupada's books only. So it may be. You can't criticize a man for being dirty when he's in the shower. Well, it's a common saying. You've heard that before? You can't criticize someone for being dirty when they're taking bath. So it's like someone may criticize, well, this devotee is not up to the proper standard. But they're following the process, and the previous contamination, it's washing off, so you shouldn't criticize them for that contamination. It's like you shouldn't criticize someone if you go to the hospital. You shouldn't say, well, everyone's sick here. Yeah, well, they're sick. They came to get cured. So you may say, well, all these devotees, there's so many faults. Yeah, but they're taking to the process. So it's a common saying. You can't. In Tamil they say like that also. Don't know. There are many sayings in Tamil from the. What is that? There's that one book called Tirukural. When Calcutta was being bombed during World War II, Prabhupada didn't leave the city like most people. He said, "Here is when the bombs was falling. He said, 'Here is Krishna coming to kill me.'" But in the Prabhupada Lilamrita, it's related somewhat differently. The Prabhupada said that he saw the bombs also as Krishna in another form. It may be Krishna. He said like that. Even in Prabhupada Lilamrita, actually, there are a few things which are a little bit deliberately adjusted because it's a book for distribution to the public, and some things Prabhupada said are not for public distribution. There are some things I know Prabhupada said, and even though you're all followers of Prabhupada, I won't say it here now. Because it wasn't meant for saying to everyone. If someone doesn't know the date, he can be understood that he is insane. I've heard that also. If you don't know the date, you're crazy. I've heard that Prabhupada said that. He may have said it, I don't know. I don't trust any individual GBC man, but the whole GBC body I trust. This again, it's slightly worded differently, but it's well known that Prabhupada said that anyone may make a mistake, but altogether they can't, although some people might question that also. Prabhupada, when Pratyatosh, who made this website, that his father-in-law came to the temple and said that your son-in-law loves Krishna, that's referring, and you love your son. Things equal to the same are equal to each other. So in other words, he was telling his father or father-in-law that, well, you love your son and your son loves Krishna, so you love Krishna. Prabhupada generally, when the parents of his disciples came, he would treat them very respectfully and make nice comments. About Prabhu Vishnu, who was brahmachari at that time, he said, nice father, nice son. Actually, his parents were very nice also. They liked devotees. They never got initiated, but they were very favorable, which is quite unusual for that generation of people in the Western world. Men should not bathe naked. That's axiomatic. In the West we don't know, but if there are any ones you're having difficulty with, let me know. Pipe up. Do not distribute my song tapes without the purports. Prabhupada wondered that after listening to the song, they'd listen to Prabhupada's explanation also. That's important, isn't it? So we can understand. Otherwise we don't understand the meaning. Distribute my lecture tapes in their entirety or not at all. Apparently Prabhupada, one disciple of Prabhupada wanted to make some little excerpts, like the punch lines or the strong points. to put on a series of radio shows. The Prabhupada said no, all or not at all. That's also important, because sometimes we think like, this part is important on this, but it's all important. The whole lecture is important. Everything Prabhupada says. Someone had asked some question, how can the moon be further away than the sun? And Prabhupada replied, I don't know very much about all this, but my Guru Maharaj, he knows. So in other words, he was saying that, Prabhupada was saying, I'm saying this on authority. It's not my own personal idea, but I'm saying this on authority. History will record that the Hare Krishna movement saved the world. Well, Rameshwara, who was, he said that Prabhupada said that the Hare Krishna movement will go down in history as having saved human society in its darkest hour. An intelligent person never gets bored. If he has got nothing to do, he will count the beams in the ceiling. Don't know about that. Hope for the best, plan for the worst. Isn't that a common sense thing? Prabhupada said a lot of common sense things, because, as I was saying, most of his disciples are from hippie backgrounds, and most of us at that time had an uncommon lack of common sense. I mean, most common sense is pretty rare, but among Prabhupada's disciples it was more uncommon than usual. Prabhupada once said to pray for a devotee right after he or she can't remember which, passed away. Prabhupada said it was like serving as a favourable witness at a trial. My books will be the law books for the next 10,000 years. That's recorded in Prabhupada Lilamrita, so that's considered pretty authoritative. Prabhupada put a lot of stress on his books. We should read Prabhupada's books. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was very critical of his overweight sannyasi disciples. That's commonly said. Prabhupada put in one of his own purports that if he saw any of his disciples becoming overweight, he would criticize them. You can say anything, but don't put it in writing. In other words, be careful. If you're going to criticize someone, be careful about putting it in writing. Even legally, you could be in trouble if you put something in writing. About worshipping on the altar in the temples, Prabhupada said the women can go on the altar as long as their husbands are also there with them. Any comment about that?
But now in the office we look at we don't see this practice everywhere.
It's a good practice. I saw the comment here is that this came up when there was because brahmacharis were on the altar with some of the women. There's not much space there, and some of the, there was some sparks flying. I personally saw that during Prabhupada's time, that there was, young lady married and on the altar with they were doing it. It was her and a brahmachari doing the dressing, which isn't at all proper. So there was some sparks flying, you could say.
According to circumstances, now for example, Mayapur, there are ladies who dress Madhava, and the brahmacharis also doing the same.
Is it?
It's big, huge.
Anyway, you have to see. It's always recommended that keep the ghee away from the fire. In modern life, there's just the opposite. But the result is not favorable for spiritual advancement. That's why in traditional culture all over the world, especially in Vedic culture, there's always restriction on mixing of the sexes, not freely mixing up. You don't just walk up to some young girl on the street and say, "Hi, how are you?" As you could do in America. Or they might not be on the street at all. My disciples should not make more than 10% profit off each other. I also heard that when there's some business dealings between devotees, that they shouldn't make much profit from each other, because the idea is that we're all here to serve Krishna. Everything is in my books. I heard it as that everything required to become Krishna conscious is in my books. So that's a commonly known way. It may not be in the Veda base name, may not be recorded, but it's also there. Now some devotees take this that, well, we shouldn't read other books, but then Prabhupada says right within his books that we should read this book and that book, and he encouraged his disciples to write books also. So there are many books, but the thing is that everything that we need to become Krishna conscious is in Prabhupada's books. For preaching, we may need to read some other things also. I found that very early in my times in Krishna consciousness, when as a young boy practically, I was in Bangladesh, and there were people telling me all these things about quoting from Chaitanya Bhagavat and telling that this is evidence of a new incarnation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So I had to read Chaitanya Bhagavat to find out what it said. So for preaching, we may have to know so many things. If we're going to preach in various circumstances, just like if we want to preach among Muslims and take that up as a life's mission, or preach in Muslim countries, then it would make sense to know at least something about Islamic culture and what's in the Quran. So it's not that this should be taken fanatically, that we only read what's in Prabhupada's books, but rather we understand the absolute truths from Prabhupada's books, and with the perspective that we receive from Prabhupada's books, then we understand everything else also. Then another one, this one came up, that in Los Angeles temple, it was formerly a church, and there's the main hall, and then there's a balcony above that. And Prabhupada said that the lady devotees, they should go on the balcony. So Prabhupada said then they can be satisfied to dance on the men's heads. Apparently. We don't know. But it's well known that Prabhupada said that the women can go on the balcony. But now they don't do that for some reason. But they have a nice
separate area.
It's a separate area. They can see everything nicely, but I don't know.
I think even when Lord Ramchandra or Krishna was coming into Dwarka, there are...
No, it's stated in the first canto of Bhagavatam that when Krishna arrived in Dwarka, the men were on the street to receive him, and the women were on the verandas watching. And Prabhupada mentions that this is a sign of culture, that of civilization, that women, they don't mix up with men, but now we became more intelligent. The third generation will be a generation of pure devotees. Again, it's one of those things we heard Prabhupada say. Prabhupada said that the children, or the children of my disciples' children, they will light fires by mantra. Just like in the yajna, they used to light the fire by mantra. So it's one of those things that we heard that Prabhupada had said.
Somebody wants to take birth again.
No, I also heard that Prabhupada said that Kali Yuga is becoming so bad. That's in one of Prabhupada's lectures. Kali Yuga is becoming so bad. Don't take the risk. Don't take birth again. Go back to Godhead this time. That was in a lecture Prabhupada said in 1975. Prabhupada had just said that a few days before I arrived in Maya. 76. I just arrived and devotees were talking about that. Prabhupada said, don't come back. Prabhupada said, don't come. It's going to be so bad. Go back to Godhead. Prabhupada was saying that the time will come when they will have children so they can eat them. We can use anything in Krishna's service. This was said to a man, the father of one of the devotees, who was he owned a company that made wine, and Prabhupada said we can use anything in Krishna's service. I remember in London, this was about 76, one devotee was very confused because he just heard Prabhupada's lecture in which he was saying that if even a drunkard, when he's drinking wine, thinks that Rasoham Apsu Kauntiya, this taste is Krishna, then one day he will be a great devotee. And the devotee is very confused. Does that mean I can drink wine? Doesn't mean that. We'd have to again ask Prabhupada exactly how we can use wine in Krishna's service. I can't think immediately of any way we could use it. Wine can be used medicinally also. There's certain medicinal wines in Ayurveda. It means it's some herbs and some gur, and it naturally ferments. It's like Sarivada salsa or something like that. It has a small percentage of alcohol. Yeah, these arishtas, asavas, they have a slight alcohol content.
I've heard Anand Swarup Prabhu, basically from Italy. He said when Prabhupada was in Italy, at one place where we went to a winery also, he said wine in small quantity is good.
Wine, Prabhupada said wine in small quantity is good for health. That's true, actually. It's said like that, yeah. It's commonly accepted. A little wine, if you take just a little, it's good for health. But we don't take it anyway. Garlic is also supposed to be good for health, so they say. We don't take that either. Drinking your own urine is said to be good for health, but we don't take that either.
With the intention of taking it, not for pleasure. If it's for medicine, there is different concept.
Well, wine we shouldn't take even as medicine.
That's all, but only the consciousness of taking it is not for pleasure. In case someone...
Well, you have to be very advanced to do that. And if you're very advanced, then still you don't take wine. So there's no way devotees are going to start taking wine.
I'm saying the consciousness of the people.
And I heard that at one time devotees were doing some pipe business selling cigarettes.
One specific devotee, not devotees.
Okay.
One devotee had a business selling chillam, which is the thing which is used for smoking hashish. So he was doing that. And
Sikshamrita is something on that.
Something like that. I think Prabhupada said he could do it.
Yeah, he can do it. Prabhupada said he can do it. And he's not directly smoking. Not otherwise they would normally buy it from somebody.
One gentleman in Hyderabad a few years ago, I think he must have passed away because I haven't seen him for a few years. He told me that he heard Prabhupada's lecture in Hyderabad about 1974 or something like that. And then afterwards he went to Prabhupada and said that after hearing you I can understand. He said that I'm doing this toddy business. That means that making alcohol. He said after hearing your lecture I can understand this is wrong, but what should I do now? And he said that Prabhupada thought for a few seconds and then he said, well, you have to maintain your family. So he kind of gave him permission to do that, to go on with that. Some devotees, shortly after they joined, this was San Francisco 1967, so they became devotees, and then shortly after that they were caught by the police and they were sent to prison for 15 years for all the drugger. They'd been selling drugs, I mean not aspirins, but illegal drugs for intoxication, heroin or something like that. So they were sentenced to 15 years in prison. They stopped all of this, but they were 15 years in prison. So they came to tell Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, well, it's not so bad. Krishna was also born in prison. And Prabhupada said that I also used to be a drug dealer. because Prabhupada had a pharmaceutical business. Anyway, by Krishna's grace, somehow they had 15-year sentences, and after 1 month they were let out. Prabhupada said, "Don't worry, Krishna will look after you." In 1 month they were let out. If you want education, go to London. If you want culture, go to Rome. If you want sense gratification, go to Paris. If you want money, go to New York. Makes sense. Don't be amazed when someone dies, be amazed when someone lives. Everyone has to die. As I travel around the world and meet many people, I get to hear, often people share with me their bad news, which means deaths of loved ones, and practically in a week, once or twice, I'll get news of someone dying. Just a few days ago, one of our devotees, actually he's never initiated because he's chanting, but his mother, he's very attached to his mother. She's strongly Jain, so she's always pulled between Krishna consciousness and Jainism, like this. So he's a doctor. He's just been practicing for the last 2 years or so. He took Krishna consciousness when he was when he was studying MBBS. So he was out at night at the hospital, and they'd appointed a new servant in the home, and the servant slit his mother's throat and stole money. So this news I got. This kind of news I'm getting all the time. Your news. So it's there. It's so many bad things going on. Even people we know. It's very hard for us every time it happens, but it will go on. Krishna teaches Arjuna how to live with death. That question came up to Prabhupada when Prabhupada was in Mauritius. He was saying that, well, isn't it ridiculous that Arjuna, he got all this higher knowledge, but then when he became so disappointed when Abhimanyu died, and he was like critical of Arjuna, Prabhupada said, no, that's natural that you have affection, but that he had absorbed Krishna's message in Bhagavad Gita is proof that he didn't give up his duty. He went on serving Krishna. He was disappointed. He felt the pain because it's natural to love people, but he went on with Krishna consciousness. So that's the sign that he'd understood Bhagavad Gita. It's not that by understanding that the soul is eternal and the body is temporary, that we become totally callous to the body, or we don't have any friends because we think, well, this is just another bag of blood and bones. No, it's a person we have an affectionate relationship with. And if that relationship is cut, then we feel sadness, but at the same time the sadness is tempered with transcendental knowledge. Said Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when Haridas Thakur passed away, then he celebrated the festival, and then after it was all over, this festival for Haridas Thakur's passing away, then he went back to his quarters with mixed feelings of happiness and sadness. Prabhupada saying about one of his disciples, saying very proudly and happily, just see what he has done. So the comment is here that Prabhupada, he wouldn't say that, well, Krishna did it, or he's just an instrument, but he would praise the devotee. He's done something very wonderful. He gave credit to the devotee. So, that's all. Which other ones did you find difficult to understand, apart from the one of the envious God brothers? Yes.
On this, I want to discuss some comment.
Yeah, go ahead. Let me see if there's anything else. Yeah.
On this point, on the Kabir brothers, if you Maharaj continue it again, so I can make small comment.
Which one?
The point of the Gaudiya brothers of Srila Prabhupada.
The envious God brothers.
Yeah.
Well, it's a paraphrase of them. This was caused by the Mayavadi psychic influence. I'm pretty sure Prabhupada didn't use the word psychic. I don't see Prabhupada use that word. Especially in this is supposed to be 1970. Of my powerful but envious Gauriya Math God brothers.
Well, this year for the first time, I don't think audience is interesting. For the first time this year, the Sri Gaudiya Vaishnava Saraswati Association couldn't be held in Mayapur because the Chaitanya Charitamrita was translated into Bengali, and this quote, especially this
Prabhupada put in his Chaitanya Charitamrita in the purport that the Gauriya Math is asa, useless. It became useless because they didn't follow the orders of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
It's like a dry branch.
Yeah, like a dried up branch. Yeah.
Yeah, so
That upset them very much. Prabhupada put it right in his book, in his books to which he gave the greatest importance. He put it right there. The Gauriya Math has become dried up, useless branch of the Chaitanya tree.
So this, when it was translated to Bengali, some read it and they took position against ISKCON.
Yeah,
And they cancelled to do in conjunction for the first time the Sri Preservation of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And ISKCON was not invited to be in the procession.
School?
No, it's fine. Yeah, so?
The first time ISKCON was not invited in Mayapur to be in the procession for the Vyasakriya celebration of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. And one of the arguments was this, but actually we came to that because the boundary wall shops and all these things, it was another issue with the policing and all these things. So we had to do the hard work to bring them for the meeting for Bhaktivedanta Swami Charity Trust, which they agreed. I had to do personally the work to go to Bodhaya Maharaj and Bhaktivedanta Maharaj to convince them to come and to discuss this thing. But actually, Guru Maharaj, when he sent a letter to explain to them was that probably at that moment he commented this for the behavior of certain members of the Gaudiya Math, which in fact they behaved wrongly with him. His Prabhupada even cried in the Bhajan Poti. Javash Prabhu told me, Prabhupada cried when one of his brothers came and he told me, no, I don't want to join you because I will be a second degree acharya in your ISKCON. So Prabhupada was very affected, and then he said they were envious and they were behind positions and to be acharyas of each man. So there was a reason, time, place, circumstances that made Prabhupada to make this comment. But it's not that he rejects or he hates his brothers. Proof of this, before he passed away, he created the Bhaktivedanta Swami Charity Trust in order to work together to enhance and develop the holy kirtas and the holy dam, to work together with them, but not to mix up or be initiated by them or take direct instruction from them. Because yes, the factor envy could be there and could be taken away. But it should not be misunderstood, that point. That point should not be. And then we hope that for the next year they will select it in order to understand that certain Gabras of Prabhupada did really misbehave at that time with Srila Prabhupada. For example, Bhakti Puri Maharaj, Prabhupada said he is the only one who got envious of me. So he was very, very favorable to Srila Prabhupada, who had the mat beside the Mahatma. And Srila Maharaj, one of the person who said that he is Prabhupada also, he is Shakti Vaishnava on the stage, so there is no problem with Saraswati Chaitanya Mat. But others, they have certain problems. Even Madhava Maharaj Mat, there is no problem now. And Guru Maharaj Mat, there is no problem now. But there are certain groups which they still have certain differences that they are little antagonic in this case. That's the only thing that's happening.
Anything else? What is it you want to? There's some more? Oh, there's some quotes about Prabhupada talking about Prabhupada said. Yeah, I already said that. I already paraphrased this. Yeah, the last one. Unless it is there from me in writing, there are so many things that quote unquote Prabhupada said. So let us all read Prabhupada's books to see what Prabhupada said. Prabhupada said, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We should all surrender to Him. Hare Krishna. Anything else? There are so many things to say. What's the time? 9:15. 9:50. Okay.
Take some questions now.
Yeah, we can take a few questions and then finish up. I heard Jayadvaita Swami finishes up promptly on time. So I think I should do that also. That's a good policy, isn't it? Early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy and wise. So it's a better idea if we start early and finish earlier. Otherwise the next day, all of us, including me, we're struggling and tired and like that. So we can do like
We
that.
have an issue here only with regard to most of the people working pretty late.
That's the problem.
We find even if we start a program at 8:30 or so, there are very few people at that time. And people don't start coming in until 9. For me, I can start off a program at 7 o'clock and be here. The intention is to try and have as many as possible. Attend the program and not miss part of the program. That's the only reason why we try and organize it between 8:30 to 10:30.
Yeah, 8:30 to 10:30, but not 9:30 to 1:30. So, anything else? Comments, questions, complaints? No complaints. That can come later. Not the first day. I'll keep my complaints to later also. You all have now these CDs of Prabhupada lectures. Ishwar told me he's planning to come here with all these DVDs of Prabhupada.
We already have whatever he has to give.
Is it?
He's welcome. Our organizers is coming.
Okay. What's he bringing then?
He always brings some surprises, so we will have something.
Okay. So let us all make the firm determination to dedicate our lives for this purpose only: service to Krishna and Krishna's devotees. Others, you're all having families, so that should be there. But Krishna Shangsha Karo Charyanacha Jive Doya Name Ruchi Sarva Dharmasha. Our family should be Krishna's family. Let our family life be Krishna-centered. Krishna Shangsha Karo Chari Anacha. Give up all bad practices, non-Krishna conscious practices. Jive Doya, showing mercy to the jivas, means preaching Krishna consciousness. Name Ruchi, taste for the holy names. So this is the essence. Sarva Dharma Shah, this is the essence of all dharma. In Kali Yuga, all dharma is concentrated in chanting the holy name. Everything is there. By chanting the holy names of Krishna, then we gain appreciation of the name, then we gain appreciation of the form, qualities, pastimes, and associates of Krishna. Everything is revealed by the holy names. Name Rati Hoile, Premera Udoy, Premete Harike Pai. When we get a taste for chanting the holy names, then love of Krishna automatically arises in the heart. And when there's love of Krishna, Krishna prema, then automatically we attain Krishna. So from Nam, Krishna Nam, Nami, who is the person of the name, all comes because Krishna is his name. Everything comes from chanting the holy names of Krishna. But that chanting, that kirtan must always be accompanied by Shravan. Now, Shravan comes even before kirtan. Shravan, kirtan, Vishnu Sma. First Shravan. Without Shravan there cannot be kirtan. that kirtan which is not accompanied by shravan, regular hearing, what is Shuddha Bhakti? Without hearing that regularly, then our chanting will be contaminated by Anya Abhilash, desires other than those for pure devotion. Or we may even conceive of Shuddha Bhakti. We may have our own concept which is not correct. So that chanting, unless it's accompanied by Shravan, that Vidyate Hridya Granthis, Chidyante Sarva Sangshayaha, that the hearing which destroys all the misconceptions in the heart, slashes all doubts. Without hearing, then our chanting cannot come to perfection. So Shravan and Kirtan go together. Shravana Kirtan, Karo Anukam. Always hearing, chanting, hearing, chanting, hearing, chanting. In that regard, I'm also writing books. Prabhupada gave a general instruction that his disciples, and especially sannyasis, should write books, and he personally told me to write philosophical and educational books. So I'm doing so. That's also part of kirtan, to read books. That's shravan, to read books. To write books is kirtan. So do you want to introduce these books? I was going through editing. It's what's supposed to be the final stage of editing. But meantime, I'm still reading. I'm going on reading new things as long as I can. The thing is that basically it's all there, but there's so many wonderful things in his writings. But I've almost finished reading everything that's available of his writing, apart from going through all the old Gauriya magazines and finding it. But I've just another 240 more pages I have to read. There's so many wonderful things. So there'll be a few more wonderful things that I have to put in. Otherwise it's... But then I'm going to the West, so I won't be ready, because the layout and everything. It's big. It's bigger than Bhagavad Gita as it is, in terms of words. More words than Gita. It's going to be a bigger book. There'll be lots of photos. So.
What's the next project?
After that, I'll probably finish off this Vaishnav culture book, which it's also, it doesn't need that much work actually. I have to stop coming to Dubai, then I can finish all these books. Stop going to...
Right. Only in the evenings we have to buy you on the program.
Tell me another joke. I'm going to Aircode. Was it? Yeah, Aircode. Is it about 2 weeks after returning? Pretty good chance I can do some writing. If I'm at any ISKCON center, you can't get the concentration, because any time people can come and then you can't concentrate. So
You can also go to Prabhupada Desh. Doesn't really.
Oh, I see. Maybe it's difficult then, because I find unless I'm alone, then I don't give the phone number either where I'm at. Then I get the chance to do some writing. Otherwise, it's very difficult. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur himself, he desired to write so many more books, but he didn't get the time. He gave the names of so many things he wanted to write, but he didn't get the time. He wrote so much, but he wanted to do more. Anyway, I'm very much looking forward to seeing this book in print. I hope you can read it. It's difficult. His language is difficult. So I've tried to translate some of the things, but it's not so easy. Actually, you can't fully translate. It's not possible. His language is not. Just like you're in Tamil, Divya Prabandham, have you read some parts? No. Can you translate it in English? You think? Not fully translatable. Some idea you can give. but it's not fully translatable because there's so many subtleties.
So his English writing itself you can't.
His English writing is it needs translation into English because it's too difficult for us. And what to speak of his Bengali? So many things wrapped up in one sentence. If you want to try and put it in English, you have to give 20 footnotes, and it's so much. And that's just an ordinary reading. And then if you go deeper, it's just amazing. He spoke from up here and gave the inspiration to go up there. Prabhupada came down to our level and made it very simple for us. He made Krishna available very easy. As Bhakti-Siddhanta, he was speaking from the level of being with Krishna. But Prabhupada made it like it was very easy. You just come with me and be Krishna conscious. Very natural and very easy. As Bhakti-Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was establishing what is the dignity of our Vaishnava Sampradaya, what is the dignity of our Acharyas. I was just reading today, just now coming on the plane, such wonderful things. He was saying that Radharani doesn't come to this world to teach about Krishna, because foolish people, again I'm just paraphrasing, foolish people think that she's a prostitute. She's an immoral woman. So therefore, the same Krishna came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as an ideal sadhu. But actually he is Radha. He's Krishna, but his mood is Radha Bhavadyuti Suvalitam. His mood is that he is Krishna, but actually he's more Radha than Krishna. So it's the same Radha, but come as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so people they will listen to him with his ideal behavior, because they won't listen to Radharani. But actually Radharani is the one who has to speak about Krishna. And that was just a few lines they said. He explained this verse, Anarpita Charing Chirat Karunyavati Anokolo. Bishod Baba, he explained it in great detail. And he would speak usually minimum 2 hours. Often 3 hours, 4 hours, sometimes 5 hours, 6 hours. That was normal for him. We only have a few drops of what is there. Much of what he said was apparently destroyed. Willingly. So it's said. It's lost or destroyed. Because his disciples were taking notes. But then after he left, most of it got lost. And even what's there, who is there to read it? This Saraswati Jayasri, a biographical work that was recently republished after more than 70 years, only 1,000 copies in Bengali. And the devotees who did that, they told me that when they were doing that, they said, we're going to republish so many of his writings in Bengali. So I saw one of them recently and said, so we republished the other books. They said, we're not going to. I said, why not? Because we printed 1,000 copies of that book and there's no takers. People are not interested. So unfortunate. So they'll print those books, but they'll just make on CDs for those who are interested. Bhakti-Siddhanta Saraswati used to tell his disciples to learn Bengali, the non-Bengalis, so they could read all these things. Highly recommended. If you have the time and the inclination, learn Bengali. Then you can read it. But they're not ordinary Bengali. Ordinary Bengalis can't understand his writings. It's his own language. Bhagavatiya Bhasha. The language of the Bhagavad. He would speak mixing up verses from Bhagavatam and quotes from Shastra. And you have to know the Bhagavatam and the Shastra and so many things to even begin to understand what he's saying. Just like, for instance, he would say, Dvitiya Binaveshita Janita Bhai Hoite. That would be like an introduction. So it's like a mixture of Bengali and part of a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. which means that fear born from considering things to be separate from Krishna. So like that. So if you don't know the verse from Bhagavatam, then you'll miss the whole sentence. So you have to be quite learned in Shastra to even begin to understand what he's saying. But many people at that time, they were learned in Shastra also. Much more so than nowadays. But even big pundits, one time he gave a lecture at BHU, Banaras Hindu University. And the scholars there, they told after hearing him that we couldn't follow what you were saying. So very high he was giving, established, because people were saying this Gauriya Vaishnavism, it's all rubbish, it's all for low class people. He wanted to show what is this, the highest thing. This is not something low class, this is the highest thing we have to give, in all respects. And he is Bhaktisiddhanta. It's not just a name he is Bhaktisiddhanta. He's not different. I mean, his whole being is Bhaktisiddhanta. It's not that he was just speaking Bhaktisiddhanta, but his whole existence is Bhaktisiddhanta. So for him, his speaking is non-different from him.
Whereas at least no one is taking care to absorb all this material, they might have about Saraswati.
Is anyone absorbing it?
No. They don't have any plan to acquire all this material about this.
I couldn't hear, sorry.
No, you said that once they print one book, 1,000 copies, and nobody. Say, for instance, maybe some person can acquire all the material they have about Saraswati and edit it and make it available for us.
Maybe, yeah, but like I'm saying, it's not very translatable. It's very difficult to translate. That book, Saraswati Jayashree, could be translated. It's biographical. But most of it, yeah. But most of that book I'm putting in my biography anyway.
But even though just to have it in archive file, maybe it's in the future very well versed.
No, it's being preserved. These devotees, I told you, these Gauriya Math devotees, they're doing that very valuable service. There may be some people in future who can appreciate that more. And it can be attempted to be translated. I've attempted to translate quite a lot of those things, but it's not fully translatable.
From Bangla.
Yeah.
Murari Gupta, I agree with you in my opinion, is very well versed in Kali. Maybe he can help.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I've almost finished doing the book now. Okay, Hare Krishna. Don't go! Come back.
Without taking the books.
I was going to say without prasadam. You can take books also. That's also prasadam.